Cubs with a big win over the Tigers yesterday, and they look for a series victory today, and they're doing it with pitching, defense, and they did it with home runs yesterday. How about this race we got going between Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow-Armstrong? Would you have ever thought that? Well, we're going to talk home runs today. Shōta Imanaga takes a step forward as far as his rehab goes and returning to the Cubs. Got some information on that. Porter Hodge is someone to keep an eye on. What are the Cubs going to do with their bullpen when he's ready to go? And one of our old buddies reaches a milestone, Kyle Hendricks. We'll get into that as well. All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell. I ask you guys to do that every day because you're part of what we do here, and I appreciate you so much. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. It'd be great if we could do it before the end of the season together. And I know Cardinals fans, and you're friends with them too, and I am too. You ask them to do anything that's complicated. Like there's 4 things there. They wouldn't figure out any of that. All right, let's talk about the Cubs, guys. Stop wasting our time on losers, and let's talk about that first place team from the north side. Let's go. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel, at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and it is great to talk to you guys today. I missed you yesterday. I apologize. I took a day off. The grind is back, though, okay? Let's talk about this team smashing home runs. Cubs, for the second time this season, hit 5 home runs in a game. Seiya Suzuki went yard twice. Pete Crow-Armstrong. We had a home run from Michael Busch, Carson Kelly going deep. And when it was all said and done, it was enough offense for the Cubs, and they beat the Tigers in a game that I thought Jameson Taillon looked really, really good. And when I'm talking about this team and I look at the rotation, when Taillon pitches like he did against the Tigers, Ben Brown, the way he pitched against the Tigers, he didn't win, but he was really good. And then you get offense from these guys. They are a tough team to beat. And after losses, these guys have made a habit of coming back out and scoring a bunch of runs, right? So Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow-Armstrong right now are guys that you have to keep an eye on when it comes to the MVP race, right? The home runs for Suzuki give him 17 on the year. Pete Crow-Armstrong, 17 on the year for Pete Crow-Armstrong. Seiya Suzuki's got 16 home runs. That leads the team. And these guys are having a really fun little rivalry between each other. And I've talked about this on our channel a lot of times about what competition brings out the best. But this is a different type of competition. This is, hey, this guy hits a home run, I'm going to hit a home run. And those guys kind of have, as Seiya Suzuki said in, according to his interpreter in Japanese, said, hey, it's like big brother, little brother. The team loves watching the pace that Pete Crow-Armstrong plays the game at. And we've talked about this from day one. You can go back and watch the videos when Pete Crow-Armstrong was going from double to triple A, the impact he was going to have on this roster. It took a little while, but it's there and you're seeing it. And it's the way that he flies around on the field and the way that he loves the game. It reminds you of Javi Baez in that aspect. But he's different. He's a different player. He's a great player. He's the number 1 player in baseball right now, wins above replacement. And it's because the power and the RBIs and all that, but it's also the base running and the defense. And Justin Steele said earlier this week, he's like, if the MVP voting was now, Pete Crow-Armstrong would win. I don't know if that's the case because so much of that is based on reputation, right? It's going to be tough to knock out Shohei Ohtani. It just is, and he is, Ohtani's the best player in baseball. And then he's working his way back to pitching. So we'll see. But the bottom line is this. What leads you to the wins? Not, who the biggest showman is in the game. right? And watching what Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow-Armstrong are doing out there with the bats has just been awesome. The other 5 home run game was April 18th against the Diamondbacks. And Seiya Suzuki and Carson Kelly are guys that homered in both of those games. And you're looking at like what's going on right now. It's pretty funny. Suzuki has the lead over Pete Crow-Armstrong and RBIs by 1, 55-54. Right? Those guys are on pace to have more than 100 runs batted in between each other, right? Suzuki's got a higher OPS, and it's close, 895 to 876, right? They got the same slugging percentage, which is 563. And then Pete Crow-Armstrong has one more home run. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I love the energy, like I said, that Pete brings to the table and the fact that he's connecting with his teammates. Now, the other guy you got to talk about, though, in this mix is Kyle Tucker, because I don't know without Kyle Tucker if any of this happens. You know, he's that guy in the lineup that the Cubs have that is a true star player, that is a world champion, that is super elite. And sometimes it's just approach. Sometimes it's confidence. You know, having John MiLB back as one of the hitting coaches could be the reason why. I don't know what it is, but I give a lot of credit to Kyle Tucker. And the Cubs gave up an enormous amount for him. And you look at what's going on right now with the guys that they traded. Cam Smith, the Cubs traded their first-round pick from a year ago. People in Houston think that the guy's going to be a star. And look at his numbers. He's hanging in there. And he's not playing third base anymore. He's playing right field. He's hanging in. Is he a star yet? No. Is he a future star? You're that young and you're hanging in. Think about when you get caught up with everybody. He might be the next Pete Crow-Armstrong. And that could be a trade that we look back at and everybody wants to kill Jed Hoyer for it. Oh, you also gave away a starting pitcher who's, by the way, injured for the year, and Hayden Wesneski, and Isaac Paredes. So then you got to figure all the players that you gave to get Isaac Paredes at the deadline last year. And then the fact that you sold Cody Bellinger to the Yankees for basically you threw in $5 million and the guy that you got back, he released. He didn't even play a game. So you gave up a lot. And if you don't sign this guy, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be happy about this deal long term. But right now, what this guy brings to the table, would you like to have him long term? Yes, yes, yes. And so I feel like even though Suzuki and Pete Crow-Armstrong are outpacing Tucker right now in some of those power categories, Tucker is the guy to me that changed this whole lineup. And I think he does every day. And I think look, long term, he may end up having better numbers than those guys, but the confidence factor in this lineup, you roll through this lineup and you better not make mistakes. They'll have games where they hit 5 home runs. They'll have games where they double you to death. They'll have games where guys get on base, they steal, and then score on a single. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. And I give Tucker a ton of credit for what he's bringing to the table. All right, that's the first thing. All right, second thing is the Cubs pitching staff could be getting healthier really fast. Look for Shōta Imanaga to be back out there really soon. And he's going to throw to live batters. He's going to play in a real game here next time around, right? What is that, Monday? Threw 39 pitches, 2 innings, and a live bullpen a couple of days ago. Everything went well for him. Cubs would love to have him back. You know, obviously was injured on a play at first base. It's not like it's an arm injury, but you want to get him back healthy. The depth of this pitching staff has definitely surprised me. I think it has to surprise a lot of you guys. Give the front office a ton of credit for having different options out there, and basically being able to maintain without your best 2 pitchers, right? And Steele's not coming back, right? So Imanaga, maybe a couple weeks. Feels like he's not too far around the corner from being back out there and playing again. And then the other guy is Porter Hodge. And he's going to require a minor league rehab assignment. But 2 innings, or actually through a bullpen, and it went well. And I read where Hodge is taking some heat, from some people like, hey, he isn't living up to what he did last year. And that could be a problem for the Cubs in the future. I really don't think that. And it was a story on Cubs SI. Nick Ziegler wrote it, and I love reading their stuff. By the way, one of the places I go every day to to check out Cubs content. But I just don't think that Porter Hodge is regressing. Look, I know he had a big year a season ago, 1.88 ERA, 39 games, and then a 5.12 ERA this year. I thought he did okay until like his last few times he was pitching. You could tell he was hurt. I don't see him as a guy who's going to have an earned run average under 2 season after season. I think he's like a 3 or a 4. But I think he's consistently good. I think he'll have outings where he'll take care of business. He's used a lot. He's got good stuff. And this is the life of a reliever. This is why when you put a guy in the bullpen in those high leverage situations, they don't last that long, right? Because your body, when you're trying to go out there and hump it every single pitch, it's not made for that. So, but Hodge is going to come back sometime soon. I'm curious to see what the Cubs do with the bullpen when he's ready. And then also on top of that, when Shōta's ready. They got rid of Merriweather, who was a mainstay for them. They designated Tyson Miller for assignment. He was great last year when he came off the IL. There's, some spots in that bullpen that you're like, but I for the most part, it's a really deep bullpen right now. And it's going to get interesting to see what happens when these guys are ready to go. It's a good problem to have, but it's also a bad problem to have because you don't want to lose talent. You don't want to get rid of guys, but at the same time, you don't want to have, you're not going to have a situation where, once guys come off, you got to put them in or, so you can't just basically stockpile guys in rehab and in the minor leagues. It just doesn't work like that. But some guy, what I'm thinking is that some players might be out there pitching, a little bit banged up. And then when there's an opportunity to go to the IL and rest, they'll take that. I don't know. All right. Final thing on today's show. Our buddy Kyle Hendricks with the Angels picked up win number 100. So there's not many guys left that played on the 2016 World Series championship team. We're seeing Javi Baez today. Kyle Hendricks is one of those guys. Kyle Schwarber, but there's not many of them left, which is pretty crazy to me. But Hendricks spent, 11 years with the Cubs. Cubs decided not to bring him back. The Angels signed him for $2.5 million. And there's some talk that there's a possibility that maybe the Cubs would be interested in bringing him back. I don't know if that's going to happen. It really felt like last year was it. It was a struggle for him. This year he's 3-6 and has a 5.40 ERA with the Angels. And that's his hometown. He's I don't want to say he's a shell of his former self, but I don't know. I don't think that this is the answer for the Cubs, but I do think that we all absolutely love this guy, appreciate him, and are all really excited about his milestone. And that as this career ends up eventually he's going to be in the Cubs Hall of Fame. I think he's a Cubs legend, and I think he's a guy that will end up in the Cubs Hall of Fame. I think we'll look back at him as one of the all-time great Cubs pitchers. So, and I think that's easy to basically to say that. He's been, he's won some of the biggest games in franchise history. And you got to put yourself in that position to where we were when we hadn't won a World Series in forever. Right. And I think now that that there's a World Series in the bag, you could look back at it and go, well, why didn't we win two? And I kind of feel like that myself. But the guys that did get the job done, we never want to forget those guys because, it sucked. 03, the Bartman season, the 84, the bad bounces against the Padres, Oh, man. Anyway, congratulations to him. No, not sure how many more W's he's got in his back pocket, but to get to 100 wins, only 19 guys that are active in baseball have done that. And look, this is a day and age where you're never going to see another 300-game winner. I wouldn't think. I think you win, 250 games, you're probably going to get mentioned as somebody that, it belongs in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, thanks for hanging, guys. We'll with Cubs and Tigers today. We'll get back at it again tomorrow with a show. Pretty excited about the way that this team's playing. I thought even the loss on Friday was a good loss. You beat the Cubs, and you better be ready to play a good game. You're going to have to play a really good game to beat the Cubs, and I love that. I love a team that's difficult to beat. You got to play your best to beat them. That is a sign of a champion. Anyway, get in the comments section. Tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's do it again tomorrow. And go Cubs. Go Cubs. Go. W flag right there. Let's keep flying that thing.